Shwmai, croeso, hello and welcome to the Bluebirds Nest. Neith ar adar gleision. Quick mention and thank you to our sponsors DragonBet. If you are over 18, please head on over to dragonbet.co.uk. But as always, please gamble aware, please gamble responsibly. Episode 30, and very unnervingly, for the penultimate episode of this season, I am getting a taste of my own medicine. And as you can see, switching seats with Mr. Rob Edwards as he becomes guest host for the episode. I guess, Rob, over to you.
Yeah, no, well, we've been talking about this for a while, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll go easy on you, don't worry. But yeah, very unsettling seeing on that side of the screen. But, yeah, no, it's time to be under the spotlight now. So yeah, welcome to your own Bluebirds Nest. Obviously, a lot to talk about this week and what you've done over the last couple of years. But for those that don't know, obviously this isn't your day job. So why don't you just sort of give us an idea on what you do exactly?
Okay, so secondary school teacher I was. Ended up in a residential special needs school in Carmarthen for a number of years, 7 years I think I was there, and then escaped the classroom, I suppose, to become effectively a teacher trainer. So I work for a private company called Aspire to Be, based in Swansea, one of the club partners, as you can see on the screen. I've merged my weekend and my week job, and effectively we go into schools and offer digital skills training mainly. Over the last few years, obviously with the pandemic, things changed and evolved. We've done a lot of work with businesses, a lot of work sort of in the personalised learning account, the PLA opportunity that the Welsh Government have put on over the last few years. So yes, increased dramatically over the last few years. Now doing apprenticeships for again business users and education. So it's kept me busy, but it's always been a passion of mine, technology, and as you said, it's a integral and important part of everyday life for me.
Yeah, and as you said, partners with Aspire to Be, and hopefully there's some stuff that we can develop in the future together. So excellent. So obviously back into football now. We'll cut all the boring stuff. Football. So where did your sort of love of football come from? I know you on a few buses back you've spoken about your glittering grassroots football career, but yeah, where did the sort of love of football come from, and how was that in your life growing up?
I suppose from a very young age, I've always had a ball at my feet or in my hand or with a racket or something like that. I've always been a participant of sports. Certainly not reached the heights of playing Welsh League football or anything, but junior football across the Carmarthenshire leagues, into the senior football. Played for Johnstown for a number of years, played for Llanboidy in the Cardiganshire League, and then a back injury stopped me in my tracks. I had 2 prolapse discs for about 2 years before I had an operation on them to have them removed. So I sort of fell into the coaching side and the off-field side of football. It was actually Wayne Jones and Sean Cresser who were up at Newcastle Emlyn at the time, which would have been Welsh League 2 back then. Gave me an opportunity to go up there and work with them. Initially, I was doing my badges, obviously you go through the leaders and then your C license and things like that. And I was heading towards what I thought was my B license. And then it sort of evolved into a medical role. I became the physio, fell into it. Certainly haven't got a medical background, but did the FAW courses and, came on the journey then when Wayne and both Sean and Wayne headed to the Bridge Meadow, came down there, was the physio for a number of years at the club. But I've luckily and thankfully got over that back injury. Still participate, should we say. I try my best at golf. Is probably my number one sport of playing at the moment. I'm going through a tough spell at the moment with the golf, but I have enjoyed a little bit of success over the last few years. So it's I would say more of an observer now, watching any sort of sport. If it's competitive on the telly, I'll probably watch it.
Yeah, like I'm saying, I'm built for comfort, not speed. So I'm much more suited to a spectator. Although I did some walking around on Saturday, I was pacing nervously. So I definitely burnt a few calories. Obviously, some people know, some people don't know that you're a Man City fan. I guess you keep trying to convince me that it was pre-money. So in the League One days, why Man City?
Yeah, good question. And it was pre-money. It was what was League Two. We'd gone down the leagues. My brother's fault, and believe it or not, and I will own up. Until a very young age, I was a Man United follower for my sins. Didn't know much about football, obviously, back then. And my brother, who's got a couple of years older than me, bought me a rain jacket, a Kappa Man City rain jacket. Remember when Kappa had the sort of, it was
Andy Morrison days, wasn't it? I think he was
quite right. Andy Morrison, a big hero of mine back in that era. He was the skipper back then, wasn't he? But yeah, my brother bought me the coat, and that was the start of following Man City, I guess. I ditched all United kit. It's a past that I try to put behind me. But yeah, I was a bit of 7 or 8 perhaps when I started following it. And they were in the doldrums back then, but they were still a very well followed team. They still sold out Main Road, and I've seen lots of documentaries and footage from back then. They were well followed. I suppose in modern day, sort of like the Sunderland, still selling out their capacity of their ground. And obviously lucky, I suppose, when everything fell into place, and now we're at the top table of European, world football, I guess.
Yeah, no, some change. I watched the game last night. They were excellent. So could be their year. I mean, they've been knocking on the door for a while. Could be their year to be kings of Europe.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So as you're going back to the club, you mentioned your sort of roles before. Obviously, you come back now in a very different role. What was the appeal to come back, and why do you want to follow Haverfordwest and give up your weekends and evenings to show the world what we all see internally?
Like I said, that the off-field role initially, the physio role, it wasn't my bread and butter. I thoroughly enjoyed that time. But when we had our eldest son, I decided that the journeys were too long and things like that. So I stepped away for a number of years. Sean Cresser, when he had the job at Carmarthen, actually got me back involved. So I joined forces with Sean at Richmond Park for a short spell. Again, through the pandemic, was tricky, obviously, but it was when Wolvesy was doing his A licence. He asked me to come down and video his session. He had to produce an audio recording, and sort of from the gantry, I filmed it as well. And we just got talking, I guess, in the car the way down, and he sort of explained the scenario that yourself and the new leadership team had come in, and how I was to expect it to be completely different. And, you just expect the Bridge Meta to always be what it was, I suppose. But even that evening, when it was only, there was no supporters there, it was just the players going through a training session. I could see it was just a different landscape on the club completely. Obviously Julie was integral at the time to sort of running the pandemic, sort of the flow to even get in the building. There was just structure that, it was there in the past, but not to this level of professionalism, I guess. I was just blown away by it from that first visit back to the club in a long time. And obviously conversations then after that recording that night had been done. You and I got chatting, and the opportunity to come sort of back on the journey. I was always a supporter and a follower of the club upon leaving after my first stint. Through the pandemic, particularly, it was the only bit of football, Welsh football, we could see on the telly and that. So, a supporter to be given the opportunity to come back into the club in a digital capacity, which for me, I've said in the past, it's a hybrid role. There's not many people like me, I guess, in the Welsh League structure who can do podcasts and can do obviously the documentary and have such first-hand experience in and around the players, the staff, the supporters, etc. So for me, as a sports fan, as a Haverfordwest fan, and someone who's a bit of a technology lover, it was a perfect opportunity, and I'm still to this moment enjoying that journey.
Excellent. No, look, I think you safe to say you're embedded in the club in every sense now. Access all areas, even places that I don't go, and obviously that sort of compounded into the documentary last season, which was the first year we'd done it. I think the feedback was excellent. Couldn't have picked a better year to start with all of the ups and downs and Belgian managers and relegation battles and injuries and resignations and tears and all sorts going on. So I think you captured that really well. Obviously, second season was commissioned pretty much straight away. Again, another dramatic season of relegation battles, of top managers, of tears, of ecstasy and all that kind of stuff. It's been another turbulent season. We're not quite finished yet. Hopefully the last chapter will write itself. But obviously, for those that love the first documentary, the second season's coming. What would you say is to look forward to? What's going to be particularly different this season? And I think we're looking to go out probably again around July, aren't we?
Yeah, it's obviously last season it was a new concept for us as a club and myself. Sort of videography is always a dabble in it, but working in that environment, it was different to everything I'd done in the past. Obviously, a couple of weeks in, fortune had turned for the club. When I came in, I don't think the club had scored at the Meadow for a 3 or 4 the first fixtures. So coming in, that Flint 2-0 win, I just was in the right place at the right time. And that's been something I've been fortunate, I suppose, over the last nearly 2 years now of being in the right place at the right time to capture those moments. I thought last year was a roller coaster. And obviously when you gave me the opportunity to do it again, I wanted to, but I was conscious, I suppose, that was the drama going to be at the same level? Was I going to be fortunate? Was I going to be able to tell a story that keeps people watching the episodes, I guess? And I remember Gordon Thomas saying to me one interview, actually, I was on the Haverfordwest sports show, and he said, "Don't worry, Ryan, every season's dramatic at Haverfordwest County." And it stuck with me. I thought, come on, let's give it a go. There's been similar trends. Obviously, the injuries for the last number of years, they've really sort of challenged the management teams. Key players been out for long spell, so there's a bit of coverage on that again. We were top of the league this year, albeit tongue in cheek. We celebrated being on top of the league for the first 3 games. Then the sort of other side of the emotions when we went on a bit of a losing streak, getting knocked out of 2 cups, penalty shootout, our first encounter of penalties of the season. Obviously going out at Taft's Well. The Thomas, the Battle of the Bluebirds with obviously Bobby Briers and Adam Raymond up there. That was sort of a good opportunity, knowing both those boys personally, to go up against them. The Flint game stands out for me this season. Flint away, Jordan's penalty with a 1-0 away. That, particularly the journey home, was a sort of a breath of relief, a sigh of relief, I suppose, coming back. It had been a bit of a tough spell. And that led into a successful run again. We went on a couple of wins. Tony got manager of the month. Christmas, the Connors Key game after Christmas, which I think many people expected us to get anything out of, and we end up winning it, obviously with Elliot's goal of the season contender. And then phase 2 has been fantastic. Again, a couple of blips, but not many. I think it's a record amount of wins and points and goals, and so there's been plenty. And as you mentioned, excitingly, the final chapter's not been drawn to a conclusion just yet.
Yeah, no. Hopefully that will be the fairy tale. I know you had that camera pointed at me a lot on Saturday. So there's some nervous chairman cam footage that's been recorded. But no, I think the scenes after it was just such an amazing day. It's a great end to the documentary as it is. But yeah, let's hope we're not quite finished just yet. So I guess that leads on then to obviously been in the club in the past, obviously through promotions 8-9 years ago, I think it was now, and kind of the trials and tribulations we've had in the last few years. What would be your kind of best 3 moments as a Haverfordwest employee in various guises?
Good question. I would say Aberdeen will always be right up there in the best memories. The Aberdeen fixture, I've spoken about it in the past, but We needed a win by 5 clear goals to claim promotion. It was actually the season concluded for all the Cymru South teams on the Saturday, and due to a previously postponed fixture to Aberdeen, we'd gone up there in the autumn, in November, freezing cold, and the pitch was frozen. The ref called it off an hour before kick-off. So that fixture was never played. We played it I think it was like a Monday or a Tuesday night. Cardiff Met were second in the league. We needed to go above them with goal difference because Caira Ely had won the league but didn't have the ground, the license, Tier 1 license saga, their own version of it. They didn't get promotion. And yeah, we went to Aberdeen and won 5-0 on the most incredibly crazy nights. Speak to it about it with Elliot Scotcher regularly. Obviously, he was part of the Cardiff Met team at the time. He was in the stands just in disbelief. They thought they were watching a game that would seal their own promotion, and we overtook them. So that was a special one. I think the weekend that we've just had, that's always going to take some beating. I think the journey the club's been on over the last few years, obviously we got the final still to come, but the scenes, throughout the whole day, it was just an unbelievable experience for everybody involved who's been a part of the highs and lows. Supporters, players, parents, staff. You know, Yori's dad is the builder who's got more and more sort of involved, particularly over the last few months. You know, seeing people's emotions, that was incredible on the weekend. So that is certainly right up there with the Aberdeen memories for me. I'd like to think this weekend would probably quickly become that third one. But again, I think I'm going to go with the Flint game. That was one of the best away trips that I've ever done with the club back in the autumn. It was almost must win. It was getting to the point where going into that fixture in the afternoon, there had been an early kickoff. So we were in the bottom two. And when you looked around that dressing room, it wasn't a bottom two squad. They were, it was there was too much quality in there, and the boys dug in that day and got a great away result. And like I said, the return journey home down south to Pembrokeshire and the drop-offs, etc., it was jubilant to say the least.
Yeah, no, I was at that game, and it was it was edgy, but that was a transition from, I guess they gave everything that day, won every header, won every tackle. It was an absolute battle, as you expect from Flint. And I think previously we probably would have folded against those sort of clubs, I think, as we had in the past. But this year, particularly in the second half of the season, we really stood up to physical teams and were counted. The same on Saturday, again, back three. Well, let's not talk about Zach. We'll get his statue ready, but the back three were exceptional again. Back five really under pressure and down the wide areas in the second half. So no, I think that Flint was the defining moment for me in terms of the progression going forward, and the fact that look, we got another side to our game, and we can win those battles, which has seen us really, really well going into the next phase, and we're going to need on Saturday as well. No, hopefully, look, one more game and that will break into that top three considerably. Yeah. The question you asked everyone: 5-a-side team.
5-a-side team. Goalkeepers. Prior to Saturday, I would have said Zach was in contention, but I've got to go with him. That performance on the weekend, sublime, incredible. I don't think as a keeper you can dream of having a performance so full of highs. He's done well since he's sort of been on this run. Started, him and Idzi have battled well all season for that number 1 jersey, but over the last 10 or 12 games now, he's been excellent. He's grown into the game. It's a funny old league to find yourself in, I suppose, from playing in New Zealand and in other countries. So he's really sort of embraced it, and yeah, I think Zach has now become the number 1 choice for me. Plenty to choose from at the back. He'll kill me if I don't put him in, probably. Sean Pems. I'm playing a lot of golf with Pems at the moment. He's just one of them sportsmen who could just take their hand to anything. He's picked up golf like he played football for years. We played junior football together. To see him lead the club over the last, the decade, I suppose, that he had was great to see. Sam Roden would potentially get, he's another one. Obviously, I think he's won the league double, a cup double this week with Pontleu. He's still playing. He'd been in contention. Gonzo, another former captain. Dale Griffiths. I think from the current crop, you got Dylan, Abu, Pats, Jenks. There's guys there who could feature. But I'm going to go with Watsy at the back, who many people would be surprised at, I suppose. But Watsy, at one spell, was a right back before he evolved into a midfielder, and like a steam train going forward. He was, Cafu, I suppose. Going forward, he was an athlete. And for a spell, he was the best right back in the league, I felt. So yeah, Watsy and Pems. Midfield. There's a couple of people. Technically, Nicky Palmer shouldn't be anywhere near the conversation, but a great guy. But I won't go with Nicky because Chris O'Sullivan would kill me if I didn't put him in my team. I think. Good friend of mine, and he was a phenomenal player as well. He had a wand of a right foot, accuracy of set piece, dead balls. He was a specialist on it, and as his winger legs went over the years, he sort of developed into a bit of a quarterback role, and he just used to dictate play on the meadow, particularly. And he's certainly someone you'd have in the trenches with you as well. A cool, calm customer most of the time, but he's certainly not one I would have wanted to cross on a football pitch. Up top, to be fair, the current crop, I could pick any of them. Forsey, Willie, Jordan. I think what Dan Hawkins has showed already in a short spell, I think he can have a really good future at the club. I saw Jack Christopher in his second spell at the club. I think he's the all-time top goal scorer. And obviously, he came back to the club for a spell when we went back up to the Cymru Premier in 15-16. Previously, he was prolific at the club. He didn't quite have as prolific a season. He'd be in contention. Tim Hicks, he scored the only European goal for the club back in 2004, I believe. But on his day, I'm going to go Jordan Follows, who on his day was incredible again. Probably played his best football at Llanelli when they were in their prime, but he's got about half the best ever goals I've seen on the meadow. Half of them are probably his. He's a cheeky chap as well, so he probably caused the management staff havoc. But Sully providing follows in attack, that'll take some beating, I suppose. That's my 5. Sorry to anyone I've missed out.
I'd say obviously not privy to seeing a few of those play, but I guess from what I hear, that would be a tenacious five-a-side team. That will be a battle on the pitch and a fight in the car park, I reckon. Well,
yeah, definitely. You can see why I picked them now.
A tenacious five-a-side team, but I'm sure very very effective. And I guess the last point before we wrap up the most famous Robin Ryan duo in Welsh football. What's the prediction for Saturday? Head and up. Take your heart aside. What does your head say?
I called it on the weekend. Penalties. I said obviously we wanted to go there and win. It was a tough ask at Cardiff Met. Purely selfishly, I suppose, for the drama that unfolded, for the documentary, it was gold. For the non-follower of the club who hopefully will tune in and watch some of the episodes. It's gripping footage. It proved to be fantastic. However, I don't think my heart could take it. Another weekend of that. It was an emotional roller coaster. There was tears, there was laughter, there was relief, I guess. The biggest word at the end of it. I don't want that this weekend. I want a nice and easy, comfortable win. It's going to be, I say comfortable win. It's going to be a really tough task. They've obviously beaten us twice this season. They're always a tough team to play, particularly at Latham Park. I think we've got it in us to come out of it successful. I'm not going to say we're going to lose. It's going to be tough, but we've got every chance of winning the final this weekend. So I'm going to say 3-2 my favourite score. 3-2 winners. Back and forth, tight encounter. But we win it 3-2. Harry John with a winner.
Dreamland. That'd be absolute dreamland. No, we'll definitely take that. So yeah, look, we've been talking about this for a while. It was nice to finally get you on, and we look forward now to a massive game on Saturday, the Fairy Tale Engines, a documentary, and look forward to getting that out in the summer as we prepare for a European campaign. Fingers crossed.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. And I don't like this seat. Give me my seat back.
You're done, then. You're done.
Cheers.